right hand. Members of the jury, your duty today will be to determine whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty based on only facts and evidence provided in this case.
Licensed pediatrician, you couldn't miss the blatant obvious that she was killing the child. Why did you not intervene before you seen it and you couldn't stop it?
Well, all I saw was that she was standing over the tube and with the child's dislodged tube, so I thought she was
blatantly said, and I quote, you couldn't miss it.
Yeah, you couldn't. But I
So
thought
why
that
did
she
you
would
not
help her.
intervene with the dying child in your hand?
I did intervene 2.5 minutes later when the
Minutes later, when the child...
It was June 3rd, 2015, and to us a little miracle was born. How every mother feels when they hold their first child. And just like that, the next day, he was gone. My son was found with gas unintentionally injected into his blood. I held a lifeless little angel, which I could never believe was imaginable to be done by a nurse at the time. I struggled to comprehend how such a thing could happen to my family. Levery presented herself as such a good person. It was just so sudden and unbelievable, and the pain was so hard to bear upon my family. My world was shattered. At that night, I spent the entire night with him, watching him closely and hoping his heart would stabilize. It was a living nightmare. Little did I know that nightmare. My husband and I struggled with depression. I struggled with PTSD.
Self-image.
She was a responsible person. She would like care for her work, had passion for others, of helping other people.
No further questions. Okay. We're ready to call Miss Lucy Levery, the defendant. Oh my God. Ready? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I stand before the jury with great confusion and distress, considering the allegations.
By injecting air into their bloodstream. How do you explain this consistent occurrence, and do you still attribute to its mere coincidence?
These conditions reminded me of what I was doing, what was and is safe.
So you were on shift every time a baby died with similar complications. How do you explain it? How do you explain this outcome? What we're pleading. Next question. I'm not asking you, I asked you.
The injections, whatever that was, they just said to me. I didn't realize that I was harming these children. In the moment I wasn't aware, I thought I was helping.
At the beginning of this trial, we touched briefly on some of the information that you would hear throughout this case. You heard us talk about the pain and suffering that both the families and victims endured. However, my words mean nothing compared to the concrete evidence, statements, and reports which you saw and heard today. You heard firsthand from witnesses about the awful sudden deaths of these babies every time Lucy Letby was in their presence. You heard the testimonies about how she stood over someone's helpless son or daughter and watched as their life slowly slipped away. Any compassionate human being would have rushed to save that baby, but instead Lucy Letby stood by and chose to do nothing on multiple occasions that were presented in front of us today. The defense described the character of Lucy as kind and loving, but how could a person like that do the things that she did? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, ask yourselves, would someone with non-control over what she was doing kill multiple babies, collect and store evidence of her crimes, and write a confession stating what she had done? We would be crazy to believe that Lucy was insane throughout her horrific crimes. The defendant went through the same training and received the same education as any neonatal nurse in the state. As you heard our expert witness say, Lucy Letby was well aware of the policies relating to HIPAA and the Hippocratic Oath detailing a healthcare professional's responsibility to do no harm. However, as you have seen through the evidence presented, Lucy purposely broke these two policies along with many laws. She is a murderer and a liar who has continuously put on a very good act. Today we have exposed her act and we have exposed Lucy for who she truly is. Mountains of evidence ranging from stolen documents, trophies to the deaths of multiple babies while all under Lucy's care. I would like for the courtroom to look at the faces of these families. I ask you to imagine the grief that is clearly shown on their faces even now. Think about how their lives will never be the same knowing their children's death could have been avoided. I bet you feel sorry for them. But overall, I know you feel anger for them as the realization hits. Their children were taken by Lucy, a woman who wanted nothing more than to play God, to seek a man's attention, to feel worthy. Ladies and gentlemen, use that anger as you come up with a verdict. Dispel the defense's weak theories and vote in favor of the prosecution. Give justice to these families and honor the helpless victims who couldn't fight for themselves. We, the prosecution, ask you to fight for these babies because Lucy's abilities failed in this aspect.
Psychiatric help for Miss Leppy. It is clear as day beyond reasonable doubt